everybody knows that there was a tragedy that happened last week. I believe it was 21 people total, 19 children and 2 adults had their lives taken away from them, crazily by some gunman that walked up in a motherfucking school with an automatic rifle and just started popping off, man. And, this shit it's crazy, man. It breaks my heart to see shit like this happen. And the fact that, like, you never hear about stuff like this happening in any other country but America.
Mm-hmm.
And, everybody's like, I was reading a stat somewhere that was like 90% or 85% of Americans are for common sense gun control laws.
Mm-hmm.
But for some motherfucking reason, man, senators and our government are just like, nah, we're not going to vote on it. There's nothing we can do. There's absolutely nothing we can do to curb this issue. And I'm like, well, how the fuck does it not happen anywhere else but here? There is definitely something we can do. Doing nothing is not something. Like, that's definitely not going to, make the problem go away. Like, y'all got to do something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But, like, not just that, like the whole craziness surrounding that event. And then, like, you hear about the tragedy, and then you come to find out that the police department sat around outside for, I think it was like 75 minutes.
But it was 40 minutes.
Nah, dog.
It was longer?
75 minutes. Yeah, I read, I think it was like 75 plus minutes outside, keeping the parents out. I was reading reports where, like, they actually, like, tasered one father and handcuffed him. They handcuffed another mother because she was trying to rush to school and save her children because, they could hear the gunshots and kids screaming. And these motherfucking cops were like, nah, we can't go in. We got to find the key. We can't break the door down. We can't do this. We can't do that. We got to wait for orders. And then, we don't know where the shooter is. We don't know what kind of weapon he's got. Like, you guys who are trained and just got all this body armor and stuff and all these weapons from, all these, fundings that you get from the government and the state. And you're too scared to go in there to save kids, bro. Like, what the fuck? That shit just pisses me off, man.
I try not. It's weird. I'm a glutton for seeing extreme forms of violence. I'm not happy to admit that, but it's just how I was raised. Like,
I don't think that's just you, man. I think that's a lot of people, honestly.
But see, some people can just keep watching it. I watch it to see what happens. Okay, cool. This is registered. I know. Okay, cool. Right?
Right.
It's the way I was raised that my father always told me that, like, yo, life is hard. Things are going to happen that you can't control. There are going to be things that you just can't do anything about. You have to move around and deal with it, right? I'm not a father, but to hear that this, you take your kids to go to school to, one, learn, to have better exposure to different cultures, to just to have them evolve as people overall, right?
Right.
And it's a safe zone.
It should be, yeah, exactly.
And that's what's fucking me up more. That I drop my children off to be safe and protected, and to hear that the police, well, hold on, as you said, as you dig, certain police went in and got their kids out and locked it back up. Then certain police went and got their wives, they got their kids and locked it back up. Once you dig and you watch the press conference where they were talking, I want to say the chief of police, the sheriff, and he described and said, we didn't know where we couldn't locate the area of shooter or if it was barricaded, so we didn't want to go in there. And once you hear that, it's like, wait, you guys took an oath to protect and serve, especially little people. It don't matter where he is. Get in there. Everything's on off safety, and we locked and loaded. Get this guy out of here. Get him out of here.
And that's what I'm saying. But the thing that gets me is, right, and then, in the aftermath of all this, and, like, you have these people clamoring for gun control, and people saying that, like, oh, that's not going to solve the problem. And I'm like, well, it may not solve it outright, but it's going to make it harder to commit these crimes, right? But anyway, aside from that, you have these people who are supposedly trained, right? And then you saw the tweets that came out a couple of days after where, like, it's the Uvalde Police Department, like, look at all our new, like,
Kevlar.
Because of this funding, we got this, like, A4 body armor. And then, it's the Twitter post of all them posing in their, bulletproof vests and whatnot. And then they're like, oh, check it out. We got all this new tactical gear. And it's a picture of them and, like, the helmets and attack gear that you see, like, soldiers overseas using.
Yep.
And then on the same hand, you see these pictures come out days after, but then you hear them talking about, like, oh, we didn't know what the situation was. We didn't want to rush in there because we were afraid we were going to get shot. Then what the fuck do you have all this stuff for? What do you have the body armor for? What do you have all this tactical gear for if you're not going to go in there and utilize it and put the threat down? You know what I'm saying? Especially when it involves children. I could see if this was like a bunch of grown ass adults and like you wanted to assess the situation and you don't, but when it's kids, dude, you don't wait.
I'm kicking doors down.
Wait.
Yeah,
exactly,
fuck your direct
bro.
order. Fuck your direct order. I'm getting this motherfucker.
You know what I'm saying? And the thing about that shit is like you see that on the one hand, and then on the other hand is like you hear about all these unarmed black folks, and like you don't have to sit there and wait 75 minutes to serve a no-knock warrant and kick a motherfucking door down and shoot a man in his sleep in his bedroom. But like, God forbid there's a guy, an active shooter in a fucking school with children.
He's guilty. There is no, let's talk, like you said, and assess and disseminate what's going on.
Right.
No. He's clapping, we clapping.
Yeah,
very simple.
Be in there. And then, the craziest part about it is like now they're talking about, well, we gotta, put armed guards in the schools, or like we want to get teachers and make teachers, get certified to use handguns. And I'm like, how does putting more guns in a situation where people are getting shot make it better?
Oh, this is a good one. Damn.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm pro that. I think I'm pro that with having not teachers, but I guess a specific type of person with a gun in the school.
Dude, they don't trust teachers to pick out their own textbooks. They don't trust teachers to teach kids with like critical race theory. They don't trust teachers to like be around kids like doing certain things and teaching them certain things. And now you want to trust them with a gun to protect them on top of all the shit that they already do?
Well, maybe not the teachers. Maybe not the teachers. You could have, and this is just where we differ. That's all. I'm pro gun. I'm pro gun.
I'm not saying I'm not anti-gun. I'm for like you being able to own firearms. I'm cool with that. Right? Here's my thing. If I gotta go to fucking DMV and get a test done, and I gotta get insurance, and I gotta get, recertified to drive a motherfucking car every year. And I gotta, pay every year to have insurance, and I gotta get that shit registered, and I gotta do all these things just to drive a motor vehicle. Why the fuck aren't those same rules applied to owning a gun? It's not like it's any more difficult than what people do already. If you're driving, that shit already happens. Just apply the same motherfucking rules to a car or to a gun that you do to a car. That simple.
Guns go back to the beginning of America, man. Cars don't.
Bro, that's when they had muskets and shit that you had to load, and it took like 30 minutes to load a motherfucking thing. You know what I'm saying?
Drop it down.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it says in the Second Amendment, like people are like, oh, it's my right to bear arms. But if you read the whole Second Amendment, they're talking about with a well-formed militia to fight against like, people who are trying to take over shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. So like I get that, like, yeah, you have all these amendments, and I don't want to take people's rights away or whatever. But what about people's right to live, bro?
How about
isn't that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Isn't that the number one thing in America? Like, and you're sitting there, you'd rather let people own weapons and freely traffic in that shit as opposed to like making it a little harder to get a gun. Like, really?
I'll offer you a counter with this, and I guess I'm going to put my conspiracy theory hat on with this one.
All right.
When, like you said, to your point earlier, I want to piggyback off of it. When police can shoot Tamir Rice in under 2 seconds and not think about it. There was just a shooting where a cop shot a pregnant woman because she didn't stop. Pregnant woman shot her 5 times like, she's pregnant. What threat is she? When brown people or people of color are being shot, no one cares. But when you start dealing with different shades of people that get lighter and lighter on the spectrum, that's when America becomes involved, and it's this big outreach and this big cry. We have to stop the guns. We got to get gun control. And I think that's the most hypocritical. That's the most hypocritical thing in the world to me. That's just my opinion. I think that if you want to stop guns, this is going to sound crazy. Why is it? If you look at all the places that have gun where you can't go buy a gun, there's all these issues for guns. That's where the crime is. But if you look at places like Texas, where it's like, what we say, fuck around and find out. They have low crime limits because everybody has guns. Now they have the crimes and other things, but it's not as egregious. It's not because the guys know if I fuck with you, I'm gonna blow your head off.
I don't think that's true at all, man. Honestly,
they have one of the lowest crime rate in Texas. They do.
But there's not as many people in Texas as there are in like major cities and shit. So like
after the last 5 years, technically there are. Everybody moved to Texas.
Well, but I'm just saying though, like that aside, like I get, whatever. that's fine. But the whole like the only way to
No, you
stop a
trying to
bad
slide
guy
it.
with a gun.
Yes.
No, I'm just
Yes.
the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Well, what
Yes.
about all them good guys with guns that were standing out front of that school? That
Those
didn't do
niggas
shit?
ain't good guys. They're punks. That's the difference.
But
That's
I'm
the
just saying,
difference.
like, but I mean, the shit that there's been plenty of other, situations where like there have been people with weapons around that don't do shit. Like the one bull, like there was another shooting somewhere where there was like a police officer that was like walking around outside. He was armed.
Yeah,
I
didn't
can't
feel like it.
remember which school shooting it was, but like he was armed and he like ran out of the school. He didn't go in there and do anything about it because he was scared. But
This goes back to our conversation a couple weeks ago when we talk about like this whole defund the police. No, it's time to like hit the reset button and really hold these guys in these townships and these your local form politicians, however this works, hold them accountable, because that's the whole idea. Protect and serve. Your job is to protect the people that are underneath you or that live in some municipality or community. And for me, hearing a cop, they don't want to go in because they're worried about that. That is more egregious. There's a press conference where the chief of police says it. And it's like he didn't even try to flip it, remix it. He openly said, we did not know where he was and we did not want to have a waste of life. I was like, what?
Yeah.
You're
So, like,
sacrificing kids?
Yeah, all the bodies of the children that are in there that already died, like that don't matter. Like you're not going in there to stop that because you don't know. You know what I mean? But that's the thing. Like you hear about that,
Mm-hmm.
and then like there are situations where they don't know. Like nobody knew that Breonna Taylor's boyfriend was in there with a gun when they kicked the door down and shot her and him or shot her
in the bed.
And he shot at them and then arrested his ass. Like they didn't know what the situation was in there.
But
did that stop them from going there and kicking the door down?
It's a black person, so it's like,
that's what I'm saying. But then
everything's gonna go.
But I mean, like that type of shit, it goes to show me that, like, I mean, clearly there's not like a quick solve to this issue.
No.
Just like the shit that we was talking about, the last show we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
There's not quick solves to all these things. There are measured steps that we need to take in order to kind of get to better places, right?
Yeah.
So my whole measured step is like, all right, bro, this dude, the kid who performed the shooting, bought the guns legally, right?
I got something on this. I'm glad you're going here.
So everybody was talking about like, oh, we can't make it harder for people to get guns because, criminals will just obtain guns, however they want. Well, these dudes are doing it legally. Then to top it off, I was reading about it. Texas has passed 10 laws this year.
You don't have to have a
this
permit,
year alone.
Open carry.
That you don't have to have a permit. You don't have to have a license. You don't have to have nothing. You can just carry guns wherever the fuck you want to in the state of Texas. And